The following program does not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Reality Radio 101, its advertisers and sponsors, or its listening audience. Listener discretion is advised. Good afternoon and welcome to the Liquid Green Health Show with your hosts Fred and Janet Cox right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board right now, send us an email. Our email address is liquidgreenhealthshow@gmail.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, right to your hosts of the Liquid Green Health Show, Fred and Janet Cox.
Hello and good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. It's another Sunday afternoon, June the 18th, and the sun is bright. It's smiling down on us. We had a wonderful weekend.
Where do you see
Look
the
through
sun?
the window. Look
No.
up there. You got bright sunlight.
No, it's very bleak.
No, it's
looking.
not. No, it's
Anyway,
not. It's a
difference of
Father's Day.
opinion.
It's a Father's Day thing. Happy Father's Day, everyone. Good afternoon to our listeners.
I'm supposed to say that.
Are you supposed to?
Happy
Okay.
Father's Day, Frederick.
Oh, well, thank
And
you.
happy Father's Day to all the dads around the world
Thank
that are
you.
listening
Thank
to
you.
us today.
Thank
And
you
a
very much.
special happy Father's Day to our producers, Gary and Mike, and to our guest. Okay?
Thank you.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Liquid Green Health Show, everyone. As I said before, it is Sunday, just in case you didn't know. We have fun on air every Sunday at this time because we give tips in an edutainment format designed to stimulate the mind and to help bring us one step closer to living a healthier lifestyle. You can catch a rebroadcast of this show and every other show on YouTube. Just type in Liquid Green Health Show as well as Spotify. Do that. If you're on YouTube, just hit the like, share, comment, subscribe, all those fancy buttons, the bells, everything. Just do whatever.
Yep.
It's going to give us a boost. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And once again, welcome to our listeners. And this is the Liquid Green Health Show. We have a correction to make from last week.
Before
right?
that, I just thought of this. I was asking you before the show started, what was exciting this weekend? What was different? What was new? And none of us thought of this. And while you were talking, I thought of it.
Oh, yeah. So
This
okay.
week, we actually launched, Liquid Green Products launched their
Oh, yeah.
resellers
Oh, yeah.
campaign.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about this for such a long time.
Yes. And this campaign is where anyone who wants to help us spread the word, buy a few cases of Liquid Green products, where it's all going to be online. And we actually, before we even launched it, I don't think it's actually up yet, but we were talking to someone, and this is someone that we've known, and she's used the product, Betty, and she's moved to Nova Scotia. And she's
New Brunswick.
New Brunswick, right. She's so happy. She picked up her products yesterday, all her 4 cases, and she's taking them to New Brunswick because she wants to win the trip for 2 to Jamaica. So we're going to be talking about that every show from now on. We'll do a couple of minutes.
And that's just a preview,
how
folks.
to
Yes.
win a trip for 2 to Jamaica by helping us talk about Liquid Green.
Great.
All right.
That's a great start. How could I have forgotten that?
Exactly. How
So
could I have
important,
forgotten
yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, you know what?
Anyway,
We've been talking about it. It's been in the works, and it's now has been solidified. Still got some
And the word is
touches
out.
to do.
So
The word is out. So
Okay.
so that's it. Now you had something you wanted to correct from last
Yes,
week.
but I will correct it later on, but after we introduce our guest,
Mhm.
and when it's the right time too, I
Okay.
will make a correction. It's just about the genetics, because last week's show was on genetics,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
epigenetics. So
Epigenetics.
with that, folks, if you want to send us drop us a line, you can do that to the Liquid Green Health Show at gmail.com. Please let us know where you're listening from, because, as usual, we love to hear your comments, your questions. Keep it coming. It's been very good for us.
Yeah.
And we also had an email from last week. You want to talk about that?
No, I want
That came in That came
during
in
the week.
during the week.
What is it,
Yeah.
a day ago, a couple of days ago?
Yeah.
We get emails and we always ask folks, send us your emails, and we're really happy to get them. But this one that came in from Brad, we just want to read that right now.
Yes.
And honestly, there's quite a few that we're going to start using them in our campaign, for the Liquid Green Health Show, because we're really so touched by this email. Do you want to read it?
And this one is from Brad, and it says, the Liquid Green Health Show is amazing. I have learned so much in many months and due to the show. And it goes on to say, I'm in better health because of it.
Can I read that?
Okay.
He says, the Liquid Green Radio Show is amazing.
So
I have learned so much in many months, and due to the show, I am in better health because of it. Do you realize how much you help people? It is a gift. Thank you very, very much. And Brad, we thank you very, very much.
Much appreciated. Very much appreciated.
Right?
Right.
So, Frederick, you're not just here for your good looks.
Okay.
And your antics, right?
Okay,
Anyway,
so
the
that
show goes so fast.
we only have an hour, and an hour is only 60 minutes, and so we got to do what we have to do. So today's topic is on fatherhood. Of course, it's Father's Day, and we thought this would be an appropriate topic to broach today. But before we get to our guests, and before we get into the show, I just want to pop out some statistics that I pulled up. And in Canada, this is a 2016. I'm certain there's a more recent statistics, but I haven't found it. But this is a 2016 statistics, and in Canada it says 81.3% of children age 0 to 14 in lone parent families were living with their mother, and 18.7% were living with their father. That's the Canadian statistics.
Okay.
In the United States, it's about 7.6 million, or 11% children are living with their mother only. That was in 1968, that was done, compared to 15.3 million, which is 21% in 2020. So that has increased, and I'm certain it's the same thing. It has increased in Canada as well. And that's just a rough statistics. And the reason I brought it up is because, of course, today is Father's Day, and we're going to be talking about it. Now, fatherhood is one of the greatest blessings and challenging responsibilities we will ever experience as a man. Okay. And although we sometimes do dumb things and occasionally make a mistake that we are constantly being reminded of, as if we didn't, as if we didn't know, right? As if we didn't know, we're always reminded. There's a built-in, recorder that keeps playing back. Great fathers, through their words and actions, admit, accept, and learn, correct, and they move forward. And they move forward with love.
Of course.
Right? So I just want to start the show with that. And with that, I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce today's guest and get the show going.
Well, I have nothing really written about Oren Harris, and I don't really need to have anything written, because Oren has been my brother-in-law, Ren, as we call him. I'm not going to call you Oren on the show because it sounds alien to me. I'm just going to say Ren. Ren, how long have you been married to my sister?
47 years.
47 years. So Ren has been my brother-in-law for 47 years. When we first met, Ren, you were in the corporate world. I remember you. I remember the BMW. I remember the parties, the life, right? And how things have changed over those years, because you are now so spiritually connected. I know when we were in that place, the Christian place, you were our guide. I remember, one of the words I remember that you said to us that I've never forgotten, when we were so stressed, I was so stressed, and I'd called, and like you always do with advice, you said, Janet, be still and know that there is God. Right? I remember that's one of the verses from the Bible that has stuck with me, even though we moved on. Anyway, I want to welcome you to the Liquid Green Health Show. And when I suggested that, Father's Day, Frederick, I think we need to bring Ren on because Ren,
Yeah.
you have had, you're one of the great dads that I know personally. All right. I love the way you have raised your kids, Daniel and Micah. And I know what you, in terms of discipline, in terms of being there, the support, everything that now we know a good dad does, right? You've moved on. You're now not just being a good dad, you're a relationship coach. You've written your book, E.L.L.E.R. And without further ado, I cannot do as much justice as you can. I want you to tell our listening audience, and we're global, I want you to tell them a little bit about yourself and how you got to the place where you are right now with the promotion of your book, with the writing of your first book.
Okay, so I grew up in Jamaica into a very dysfunctional family where I saw injustice done from my dad to my mom. And at 5 years old, as I can remember, it has never left me as to the impact it had on my mother. And that's the start of my relationship interest journey.
Right.
Even though I didn't know, but I can trace it back, looking back, then. And along the way, things have developed where I just became more and more interested in relationship. Along the way, I became more and more interested in not just the academic side of relationship, but also the spiritual side of relationship, because I came to realize that the academic side alone does not explain relationship and does not guarantee one to have what I call a finding love perfectly.
Okay, now I don't want you, thank you for that. And we're going to move into, you mentioned about your dad, your family growing up when you were little. Your dad left and you said that was a big impact. Now, what do you think? What is the role of the father in, let's cut it down. When dad is absent, what can that do to a child?
Okay, perfect question, because I can tell you what it did to me, what it's still doing to me after 77 years. The stability, the confidence, that a child has, because he sees the attachment between child and parent, especially the dad, who's supposed to be the head of the household and a covering over the mother, that was broken apart and damaged. And when it was damaged, then it left me not understanding and not experiencing the love basis for every relationship. The basis for every relationship is love.
Correct. And, nowadays, Frederick, we've seen the advertisements, right? Father's Day. We've seen the ads over the years. Fathers are now getting, they're getting a bad rap because we're dumbing down the role of fathers. You seen some of those commercials? The kid is in the back seat of a car and they're everything wrong. And they say, don't tell mom, right? And that's because of the mother is being revered as the one who is the
disciplinarian.
The disciplinarian. Yeah. So when a dad is absent, I remember that song, "The Cat's in the Cradle" and I don't know.
I want to be like you, Dad.
I want to be like.
I don't know the name of the song, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You remember that song? I want to be like you, Dad.
When are you coming back, Dad? Something like that.
And everything that he wanted his dad to do with him. Yeah. Now that he was the old.
Yeah.
He says, "Well, Dad, we're gonna do it later." So, what could you tell parents today, not parents, dads, if you had to give that a message today, what's one of the things that you would say to fathers? General.
Okay, so I would talk to people first who are looking to be dads.
Mhm.
Okay, because I have two audiences. The person that's looking to be a dad, which is a person that's looking to find love, and love is at the basis of relationships in order to produce, a family and kids. So I have one message for them, which is what my entire book is all about.
Mhm.
Finding love perfectly so you can experience long-lasting and enjoyable relationship.
Right.
So that's what I'd tell them. Now, for people who are dads, the missing element I've found is where love could be there, but it's not flowing.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's another way of saying that in a marriage or even in a relationship where there isn't a marriage and there's a family and there's kids, the missing element why love is not flowing, gets into the missing element of love. And if
Right.
you break down love into three pieces, and what I would tell Dad is the three pieces of this love is the empowerment piece, to have power outside yourself and to use the power, which is empowerment, and to be able to do the hard part of love, which is communication, listening, speaking from the heart, authenticity, vulnerability. And with those two things, which are missing, are the things that I promote and tell Dad they need to have. They need to have the empowerment, and they need to have, the hard part of love, which is the foundation of love and relationship, and the relationship including the family as a largest entity in relationship.
Okay.
I want to touch on something that Ren said earlier when he talked about the relationship with the father that he had with his dad, right?
Mhm.
Or lack of.
Mhm.
I personally grew up in a situation where I never knew my father. I never had a relationship with my father, period. But I grew up in a relationship in a situation where there was a male figure, because I grew up with my godmother who had a husband, and he, for all intent and purposes, was a male figure in the home. But there was still something missing, right? When I look back at my earlier life, there was something missing that I couldn't put my hand on it. I couldn't put my finger on it, but there's something missing that you long to get from that biological father, right? And I think that's the reason why I got myself into a lot of trouble when I was younger, because it was because you're searching for something that you can relate to, you can connect with, right? And even though there's that male figure, it's not your biological father.
But I disagree, though. Bren, I don't know, we'll throw the same observation to you. I disagree in that, what if you're adopted? And what if from a baby you've been born into a situation, into a family where you never, or you don't, sometimes they don't even know that they're adopted.
If you don't know, it's fine. No, it might.
What I'm saying is, I believe if the male figure in your life plays the role of a dad, then it's good enough.
Yeah, but if you as the child knows that that is not your biological father, there is something missing. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
if you don't know, it's different.
So what do you say, Ren?
So let's broaden this discussion.
Right.
So there's so many lack and missing, dads in so many families that there is the concept, or you might even say reality, that there is a heavenly father.
Mm-hmm.
And we must look at this point in time that the heavenly father realized the lack of earthly father situation, so that it levels the playing field that everybody can come to have a father, because the heavenly father covers the entire base.
if that's your if that's what you believe. There's a lot of people around that don't share that belief, right? We do share, yes, there's a power greater than ourselves, but not necessarily that, you know, the Heavenly Father is I don't know how to say it.
Is the head of the household.
Right.
Right.
In a good Christian family, yes, right? But there's some families where they never go to church. There's no question. But still, that dad, which brings us to the point of bad dads, abusive dads. Is it actually better to have any dad than no dad at all? What do you think?
I would say it's better to have some dad than no dad. And
So
the reason why I say that, the reason why I say that is because by design, the dad is just part of the structure of every family. And when that dad is missing, the structure of the family, you know, feels a loss, and it develops all kind of what one might call, you know, behavior issues or mental issues, for sure.
So we watched a movie last night. What was it called? Extraction.
Netflix,
right?
Extraction.
Netflix, right. And Brian, in this movie, the man was actually in jail. I know it's a very popular movie, so I'm not going to say too much, but he was in jail. And because he actually family arranged for the wife and the children to stay with him in jail so that they would have that connection.
But he was abusive.
This guy was a bad man. But that kid was so attached to the dad that even though he was being taken out of the situation, which is what the movie was about, that kid was so connected with the father, and he couldn't see past the fact that the father was not good. So what you're saying is that children are, say that again. I don't think I
know what he's saying.
Okay, let me say it again, because it's so foundational.
Right.
By design. And again, let's say by design, I'm stepping out of the human realm as to how we came here and why we're here.
Right.
By design, a high entity designed this thing called family and this thing called mother and father. And any interruption of mother and father, or even a situation where some father is not that good, the very fact that some of that father is present, it produces and help and benefits the kid in some way. Or put it the reverse way, any lack of the fathering affects the behavior of the child and their life moving forward. It's just a design issue. It's like General Motors designed their car this way, and yeah, it's a design issue.
Okay.
And that's basically, that's a universal thing. If you don't have the sun, right, you're going to have a problem on Earth.
Yes.
Right? Because both sun and moon produces certain energies that keeps everything together. That's the mother-father's. Yes.
And by the way, even if you have a good mom that steps in, and the father is not available, that child will still be lacking, and it shows up in their behavior.
And that's what I was going to talk about next, because you just read the statistics with the single mothers in our society and the growing numbers of single mothers. Now, my question again is, having a strong single mother who now becomes mom and dad, okay, unless she's bringing in some other entities, who knows when, where some of those relationships, we won't get into that. But is that child better, are children better off with a strong single mom than a dad in the home who is going to be a horrible, abusive, absent? What do you?
Okay, so I actually know of a single mom who was a professional, who had a husband and dad that wasn't very good. And I actually know of someone whom I'm speaking. It's like a case study. And she was a professional, financially capable to provide security for her family. And she worked hard at being a good single mom. The thing that made her different is that she incorporated in her life that Heavenly Father entity, whether you believe it or not. I'm just giving you some facts. For this case with this lady, the Heavenly Father entity, professional woman, single woman, and good mother to the best, but the husband really lived in absentia, and the kids turned out okay.
Okay. All right. Now,
Go
what are you
ahead.
gonna
Yeah,
say?
no, go ahead.
I'm going to change the subject a little bit because I know when we sent out, the intro about you, we said you had experienced some tragedy in your own life. As a dad, you lost your son, or my beloved nephew, Micah. We've talked about him so many times on this show. And you know what, Ren? I always, when I talk about Micah, I always refer to Joan and how she managed, etc. And selfishly, I'm now realizing how ungracious that was, because I always thought Joan, and her. But your dad and you lost a son as well. Can you describe to us, Ren? You lost your one of, I think you have, and the second, you have another son, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But tell us about what happened. How were you able to cope with dealing as a dad with the loss of a child? Because they say that's one of the
hardest things to deal with.
To deal with is loss of a child, and then of course of a spouse.
Okay, and this is going to get into belief systems. Okay. And I realize that everybody have different belief systems. But with my belief system, I was actually on the way to preach when I got the news.
Wow.
And what I was on the way to preach is what the Bible, there's a lot of information about higher beings, but my information about the Bible, about God, I was able to going to preach about, it is the first thing I was able to call back on, and to not use my mind or my emotions, as much as both of them were raging.
Right.
But to fall back on the Bible or spiritual, to try to comprehend what was happening, because Micah hasn't died yet. So we just turned around, we're heading back to Manhattan, and just, connecting with this higher entity and asked him to keep him alive. And then as we're close to New York City, they told us that he had died. So my mind and my emotion, I had to work hard in order to keep those things on the wraps, to figure out what's going on and eventually what happened. And I was able to spiritually appraise what happened.
Okay.
Now, once you can spiritually appraise what happened, then you get into the fact that there's a spiritual entity that controls everything or knows everything. And if you can spiritually connect to that, then you can start working towards, this didn't happen by chance. Right. This didn't happen by any human element, even though there's human element involved, but there was a spiritual element involved. It's that whole thinking that kept me from going to pieces.
Okay, and that's amazing. And it not only kept you and Joan from going to pieces, it also was able to keep the family together. Because, again, statistics will tell you that so many families, after the loss of a child, whether through disease or accident, trauma, whatever, birth, the relationship between the man and the woman usually, so many times we see it in the movies all the time. Strenuous. Sometimes, so many times they just end up breaking up. So it is the spiritual strength that you were able to lean on. Now, in terms of, thank you for sharing that. And I'll just tell the.
Oh yeah, let me share one more piece that's very important to this. This is my second marriage.
Okay.
So when I met Joan, I was 100% sure this was the best thing that would happen to me. And no tragedy like this would ever happen. It'd be a perfect second situation.
Okay. Hold on.
So when I raised,
okay, go ahead.
When I raised Micah, with that in mind. It was my second chance at producing a A1 son. So when I lost him, it took me back, way back, because I started asking questions like, how come with this great effort at my second chance, and now I lost him?
Yes.
And I had to go spiritual to deal with that.
Yeah. And that's what I call it, the set point. Go back to the set point where you feel most comfortable, and then work from there. And that's basically what he did.
Now, you know what? In life, in this modern day life, we look at role models, right? And we see young people looking up to the movie stars, the basketball stars, the celebrities in our lives as role models, right? And to me, that is not, your dad should be your role model. Would you agree?
Yes. By design.
But that's how it's supposed to be. But you have so many dads that forsake that responsibility, right? They might become a role model, but not for the children. They become a role model for other people.
Yeah, for
right?
the public,
and other people for the public
families.
But behind the scene, they're totally, they're no good.
Because I always look at it. So many of those celebrities, not knocking celebrities totally, they have wonderful lives in whatever it is they've set out to accomplish. The strongest man in the world, the fastest man, the best hockey player, best basketball player, etc. But sometimes when you look back at their lives, they don't even know how to hold their own families together. We see that so often, Ren, the corporate world from which you first came. This is a syndrome where the men, especially women now too, because women have caught up and probably have even surpassed men. But we find that you spend so much time in the office trying to be the man, be the provider, bring home the dollars, make everything work, and yet you lose time with your kids. How do people, what are we supposed to do with that? How do we juxtapose those positions?
So, as part of my book, my relationship book, one of the statements I made after much research is that if things are not going right in the boardroom, which is at work, it's going to affect what goes on in the bedroom. If things are not going on right in the bedroom, it's going to affect the work that goes on in the boardroom. So within that little complex statement, that's what goes on that affects relationship when it comes to the workplace. And when it comes to the workplace and relationship, one of the most important piece of the relationship and the workplace is the security aspect that's provided for the family, which is on the shoulders of the man. And if a woman takes on that role, something in the relationship and the family will crumble. And usually where the crumbling happens, where it affects the kids. Yes. The design can never go wrong.
But then you also have
the demanding dad, right?
The demanding dad, right? That and that is a person that push their children to excel, right? They push their children to do things that they normally probably would not be able to do as a dad. So they want the child to become a doctor, they want the child to become a scientist, or the best sports.
We've seen that in many cultures, right?
The best in sports. We've seen that in a lot of different cultures, right? And that can also be a problem for fatherhood.
Right, because here you have a father now who is in the child's life, and he wants the best for the child, but they're pushing so much. It's like from the sublime to the ridiculous. They're pushing so much that they've totally lost touch, and then you have the resentment building, right?
And this, like a lot of these things that we're discussing here, it's not only have a traumatic effect on the child physically and emotionally, but health-wise.
Yes.
Because you find children who are put into these situations, some of them may develop what is referred to as eating disorder. They may gain weight. They may have other traumatic experiences that cannot be easily identified because they tend to internalize things, right? And so it does have an effect on an overall outlook on the child.
I have another question for Ren. Sorry,
let me just add to this. So this reinforces this spiritual thing that keeps coming up. It keeps popping up because the balancing of the dad or the parents that's pushing the kid, pushing is good, but the balancing of the right amount of push is something that on a cognitive level, most parents, most dads don't know how to do. And because they don't know how to do, and sometimes do it to the detriment, then I always go back to the fact that there is a design spiritual level that is the right way to do it. And we all need help going back to that to balance it properly.
Right. Now, Ren, you know our dad. You met our dad, Ashton, Daddy, who I thought was the best dad in the world. But I just realized there was actually a name given to my kind of father, right? And I think the sociologists call it the Disneyland dad.
Yeah.
And he was like
the playmate dad.
we never got into anything ugly with our dad. Never got spanked. He always just gave us money when he came, and he gave us lots of gifts and clothes, and he was Santa Claus. And he was like, he spoiled us. He was the fun parent, and everything else was about the discipline. Everything was left to my mom, right? What happens in that situation? Is that good? Is that not so bad? Because I'm happy. I didn't think we were at a loss because of the dad we have, but I realize now that's not the kind of parent that's a good parent.
Right. Now, before you give your answer, you want to do that?
Finish with the answer, and then we go to the emails, right?
Okay.
We have quite a few, right?
You got quite a few emails. Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know if your audience knows that I'm not just an author and a relationship coach, but I'm a therapist and a counselor and a behaviorist.
No, now they know.
Now they know.
You see, so I could very easily, which is what I do with like 20 cases that's behind me, that I'm analyzing and sorting out and trying to get them to overcome damages that has happened. I could very easily analyze your mom and your dad.
Okay.
And then as a result, analyze you that come from that mom and dad. That's what I do for a living.
Okay.
So with that little bit of information on who I am, again, going back to design, to understand the behavior of any child in a family, you got to go back and look at it environmental growing up fact. You got to go back and look at them psychologically, physiologically, sociologically, and it's a combination of looking at, and theologically. Yeah, okay, that's the spirit. You got to go back and look at all those angles to analyze, the product of Ashton and Lisa. Yeah, this is a deep subject.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we're gonna take a break then.
Okay.
We're gonna come back to this. We're not gonna analyze Ashton and Letha because we have so many other things. But I would definitely love to hear what you would have said if I was in your counseling class. All right. Okay, good. We're gonna come back. So Frederick.
Okay, let's
Okay.
get. We have quite a bit of email. We have quite a few, and honestly, I don't know where to start here. Let's go back
Henry?
to let's start with him.
No, after Brad, there was
That was Henry.
Mhm.
And Henry says, hey, LG Dad, happy Father's Day. Thank you
Yeah,
for that one.
quite
That
a
was
few,
great. Yeah,
right?
that was quite a few. Which one? This one here?
Mm.
I gotta do this quickly. Okay,
No,
want to read that?
No.
Okay, I can't get to that one. This one. Okay, here's one. Oh, this is funny. Somebody knows that I love cookies, so they're gonna send me cookies. And then, we know that he's now into oatmeal cookies,
Oh,
right?
you remember
Sure.
from last show. Ren, Frederick, we always talk about health and eating healthy and all this stuff. So there's a lot of cookie jokes on Frederick.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Thank you. They look great.
Yes.
Actually, I'm gonna go out and get some right after the show. Here's one
Okay.
from John. Hey, Fred. If
you
you are a dad, happy Father's Day to you.
Yes, he is a dad. And guess what? Today, we are two children, Kira, daughter, Kofi, son. Kofi's here with us, and he had Father's Day dinner with us already. But Kira, oh my goodness, this is what happens, Ren, in some families where they have so many to the family. Our grandchildren, do you realize they have 3 nanas, three grandmothers and 2 grandfathers? So we always are having to share with the other dad today. And they're having a big to do. We're here. So happy Father's Day to them, to Papa Dalton and to Lamord and all the other dads in that home. Right.
Here's another email from Kelly, and Kelly says, hey, Coxes, looking forward to today's radio show. Happy Father's Day to Fred and your radio crew. Thank you for that. Here's Laurie says, happy Father's Day to Fred. And again, more cookies. This one is chocolate chip cookies. Thank you. Now eat one of these. Thank you. I will right after the show. I'll get my own brand of it.
To the audience, I really was going to make my husband chocolate cake today. I was going to. Chocolate is not your favorite.
Promise.
But I had no I had no eggs. So the cake will wait until next.
I don't know. The chicken flew away and laid the egg somewhere else. Father's Day to Fred. May you celebrate many more. And that's from Brenda. Thank you very much.
And I must say, Frederick, about fathers, on the scale of 1 to 10,
I'm a 25.
I think you're close to 8.5, 9 as a dad.
What?
I think you've done better as a dad. And I think our kids would agree with you, right? That you're a fantastic dad. Like you, Ren, fantastic dad.
Then I should be like a 25 or the 10.
Just be happy we're not talking about husband day. We're not going to be scoring that high, all right? The score is down. Anyway, go ahead from Tim.
Here's one from Tim. Hi, Fred and Janet. Looking forward to your radio show today. Happy Father's Day to Fred and the guests.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And someone wrote us earlier saying that they were a new listener. And I can't find us. I think it's Joe. Joe says, I'll be a new listener to you today at my father's party. I heard a lot about you, listening to you from Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Wow. And you know what, Oren, we get so many people. That's how we have grown. We have grown so much on this show that because everybody who listens, they like the show and then they invite and they share. And we really thank people for doing that.
Yes.
Right.
Very good.
And helping
nice.
On Reality Radio 101.
Or on YouTube afterwards. Right.
Okay.
Nice.
So back to our guests.
Yes.
We have a few more email, but I'll get back to our guests later.
Mm-hmm. So Ren, you were saying about Ashton and Letha, and then we want to talk about a few more things. So we'll rush through. Go ahead. Time is like what, 6:30. We have 15 more minutes on the show. Can you believe it?
Yeah, you know, these are generic facts. It just so happened to, if the shoe fits, wear it. You know, so not necessarily talking about Ashton and Letha, but the generic fact as to some, a dad who's away a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and a mom who has to chip in. And so the mom has to be a strong authoritarian figure.
Mm-hmm.
And that strong authoritarian figure is passed on down to the kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when it's passed down to the kids, it's passed on down to the marriage of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, if that's not balanced with a strong authoritarian figure, then it could lead to the independence of the child.
Okay.
It could lead to the child being the controlling one in a marriage.
Wow.
If the husband in the marriage is not strong or is weak, there's all kind of dynamics there where that independent, wife of a product like Ashton and Lita, it could be good and it could be bad.
But like the authoritarian figure from a mother is totally different from an authoritarian figure from a father, because there's certain there are different dynamics that's in play. It's a mother trying to act the role of a father, but she's not a father. So the child takes that input that the child is getting differently than if the father himself was present and administering that type of discipline.
Mhm.
And as a result, the child is going to have a different view.
Yes.
How they should behave when they become an adult. It's totally different. Unless the child is strong enough to understand, well, okay, what I was getting from my mother, the father wasn't there, but I have to compensate somehow.
Okay, I want to bring in
Right?
a new.
You understand what I'm saying?
I understand,
Right.
but just in the interest of time, I want to bring in a new dynamic, because we talk about the macho fathers, like Ren. You know those songs, the reggae, the rap, and I'm sorry, other cultures, the songs we hear about, and there is a kind of toxic masculinity, right, where they bash the way they treat women. They say you can judge a man by the way he treats his mom, right? What do you think is happening in our culture right now, today, the modern world? What is happening to the relationship, not with the whole family, but between fathers, because it's Father's Day, between fathers and their children, as a result of some of these
and the objective
songs and stuff that we hear.
Yeah, how they objectify the opposite sex.
Yeah.
The music itself is degrading.
Okay, so the role of the parent, in the family is by design headed by the father. Okay, so that's by design is a given, because it's headed by the father, and the mother or the wife is in a support role, and they run the enterprise together.
Yeah.
Right.
Not individually, but together. And anything that interferes with that structure, that I just laid down, which is very, very commonplace in Jamaican culture, and that's why you see such a breakdown, in the families, especially like in the Jamaican culture, because the husband, the father is not taking on that headship role, and then they pick on or objectify, if you will, the mother or the wife. The culture in Jamaica it's so broken and in shambles, and because of that, you have kids like me. But when you grow up like me, there's hope to get your life turned around, like my turnaround. So, there's a balance there, with spiritual entity kicking in, that's looking over the whole thing.
Right. We're not
Right.
going to generalize.
Yeah, I
that
don't
it's
want to
related.
generalize, but it also happens in the North American culture.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
happens.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm gonna pick on the rap songs.
Mhm.
Some of the, not all,
Right.
most of the rap songs you hear on radio, right, on the playlist, they are disrespectful to
Yeah.
women,
The bitch,
right?
say this,
And
that,
they
yeah.
they call the women by
Degrading names.
degrading
yeah.
names, and the young people, they gravitate to this. That's what they're hearing. That they
Mhm.
see the image with the male is promoting commercialism, right?
Yes.
So
Mhm.
it's that kind of thing that we're talking about
Yeah.
that plays a role in fatherhood as well.
Yeah. Now,
Parenting.
another question. I just want to throw some almost like a rapid fire thing because we have like 10 minutes left on the show. It goes so quickly. Same-sex couples, dad Micah and dad John. Sorry, Micah, I know you were anything but gay. But two men raising sons, raising children. Is that a problem? Not a problem? How do you address that?
Yes, because by design, it was not meant to be so. So it meets certain element of the good outcome of the relationship, but it's still lacking because I don't care which way you slice what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Design is a standard.
Right.
The
Okay.
spiritual is a standard.
Yeah.
And when that standard is not adhered to, things shift and don't work right. I don't work as they were designed to work. That's really the bottom line of, it's like, let me just say this to plug my book too. If you don't find love perfectly, you end up compromising and you get together in a union,
Mhm.
and that union is called marriage, or in some cases, there's no marriage, it's common law living together, and that produces kids, and the kids that it produces and the family it produces is a family that has problems. And here we are, and that's why I wrote my book, so you can find love perfectly by the standards,
Mhm.
by design, and then healthy relationship, marriage, which is a covenant, and a covenant is tied together with spirituality, and the family that comes from that will be dads and mom, like one would want for it to be.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say something else on that as well. And I always like to go back to the spiritual entity.
Mhm.
What or whoever it is that designed this universe was smart enough to put the sun and the moon to govern the earth. You cannot have one, right? The moon alone cannot be sufficient for life on earth. Likewise, you couldn't have the sun alone to be sufficient for life on earth. That is
Okay.
why you have two energies, sun and moon,
Okay.
right? And
Yes.
that plays out
Mhm.
in the like Ren is saying,
Renaissance.
it plays out in
The design.
the design.
Yes.
That is the spiritual design.
Yeah.
That is the family design.
The physical
You gotta
design
have
as
both
well.
of them.
Let me slip 80-20 in there.
Okay, I was just about to talk. Okay, go
Because-
ahead, please.
Because that is 80-20.
Okay,
That was a focus of Micah's funeral,
right.
which is on my daughter's leg tattooed.
Not just your
80,
daughters, all the cousins, Ren. All the cousins have 80-20, either on their ankles or on their wrists because of
yes.
Go
The
ahead.
80 is a spiritual entity, and we're only a mere 20.
Mhm.
And when we do our 20 and rely on the 80, life is good.
Yeah.
As soon as we start overstepping the 20 and minimizing the 80, these big things pop up: anxiety, worry, fear, being overwhelmed, and damages the family.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
says a loving father, when a loving father is part of a child's life, they can be expected to earn a higher income, get a higher education,
Yep.
be more well-adjusted in life. It also corresponds with less incidents of teenage pregnancy and less substance abuse, right?
Absolutely.
in the role of the father. And it says women, like especially the relationship with daughters and their fathers. That is such an important relationship. I know you have a fabulous relationship with Danielle, but our next email from Frank is asking, where can
I get a copy of your guest book? So Ren, here's an opportunity to tell our listeners how they can get your book.
do you have a copy of it to show?
Yeah, you can. Here's my
That's
book.
the E.L.L.E.R model 9010. That's the name of the book, E.L.L.E.R model 9010.
Yes. Yes.
And how can they get a copy?
You can get it from Amazon, and you can get it at any Barnes and Nobles anywhere over the world.
Is it on Kindle as well?
Yes, you can get it on Kindle. Yep.
And what did they put in? Just Oren Harris and Ren?
Oren L. Harris.
Oh, Oren, O-R-E-N.
L.
Harris.
Right. The E.L.L.E.R model. E.L.L.E.R model.
Okay.
E.L.L.E.R stands for how to experience long, lasting, and enjoyable relationship, because too many relationships in this world is long lasting, but they're not enjoyable.
Yeah.
So
or they're enjoyable, but you have no guarantee that they're going to be long lasting because you don't have no design and standard.
And that's going to be the topic of another show, because relationships that young people know, and the relationships, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
it's so much that
we're definitely going through troubled times. And that is the reason for a lot of the upheaval and crazy things that is happening in the world. But again, that's a totally
I just want to read one more statistics, and this says 2016 census, and half our listeners are from the US. This is a US statistics. 90% of homeless and runaway kids and 71% of high school dropouts, 63% of youth suicide involve cases where there were no fathers in the home. Right. So guess what? Ren, we're going to thank you so much for being a guest on the Liquid Green Health Show. You're my peeps, you're my brother-in-law, and we love you. And you know the family loves you, right? And anytime anybody has any kind of questions, Frederick, you know this, right? Who do you turn to? Somebody has an accident, somebody is stressed, somebody wants... Call Ren.
Call Uncle Ren.
Let's call.
There you go. Look, my website is experiencelastinglove.com.
Experiencelastinglove.com.
And no spaces. Exactly. That's my website.
Experiencelastinglove.com. And there you can go. You can also pick up the book E.L.L.E.R, the E.L.L.E.R model. 9 to 10 at Amazon or on Barnes and Noble, you said?
And yes. I want to say something else. For women, I know we always bash men, right? I know sometimes I'm guilty of bashing even you.
Always,
right?
always guilty. Always guilty.
We need to big up our men.
We need the support. We need your support, please.
Happy Father's
Day.
That's
right.
Men in the house, dads in the house, make it so much better. We have another email.
You got to have sunshine in the house. You can't just have the moon. You got to have sun.
I like that, Frederick.
You can't just have the moon. You got to have sunshine. Here's an email from James. And James says, hello, Janet and Fred. I agree with your other listener. I'm in better health as well due to your advice and information. Happy Father's Day to you. You two are God's gift to a lot of people. Thank you. And thank you for that. That's wonderful. That's awesome. We really enjoy these email.
There's one from Mike.
Here's one from Mike. And Mike says, happy Father's Day to all of the mothers who
were also a father to their children. And we did talk about that.
The mother playing the double role. And that's very, very important too. And here's one from Karen. And she says, hello, Coxes. I want to hear why Janet and Fred are anti-God, religion, the Bible, etc. What happened to them? Okay. Now, let me address this.
No, you don't have time.
No. Quickly. Let me just say.
Because we're not.
We are not anti-God. We just have a different perspective on what we were being taught. Right? So it's not being anti-God. We have a different perspective. So please,
Not at all.
Get
But
it.
Karen, we need to bring on a show
Yeah.
where we talk about that.
We will.
Right,
And here's
we
here's
will.
another email
Mhm.
from Dave Haycock. Says your guest is referring to alpha and beta males. Great show today. Thank you very much. And Ren, once again, we want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time out to be with us this evening. I know our listeners have been awfully blessed
by
today.
what you had to
And I
say.
just want to go back to something that I said earlier in the broadcast. Fatherhood is one of the greatest blessings and challenging responsibilities we will ever experience as a man. As men,
Yes.
we have been given the gift of fathering. It's not just a physical or moral responsibility, it's a spiritual gift. A father is also responsible for providing emotional, social, and spiritual protection, as well as support for his family. Children need affection and from their fathers, both physical and verbal.
Mhm.
They need assurance, kind and loving discipline, and spiritual leadership. So let's show our families that we are ready and willing to be the men, husbands, and fathers that they deserve. And with that,
Amen.
folks, I would like to say thank you to all of our listeners. And as we end the show, as we normally do, we like to say good health is central to human happiness and well-being. It contributes significantly to prosperity and wealth and even economic progress. As healthy individuals, we can be more productive and may even live a little bit longer. So until next Sunday, same time, same place, same station, this is Janet and Fred Cox saying, let's stay healthy.
And thank you again, Ren.
On
God
reality.
bless.
Well, welcome. It was my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks.
Have a good week, folks.
Thank you for listening to the Liquid Green Health Show with your hosts, Fred and Janet Cox, right here on Reality Radio 101.